Hi there, and welcome to AmericasMart Live. We're here at the main stage with an exciting panel coming up. My name is Kimberly Schlegel-Whitman, and I'm your host of the main stage this week. I'm really excited about this panel. We're going to be talking about Creative-Preneurs, a word that I love, and you're going to get to meet 3 women who have taken their concept into a cult brand. Our moderator today is the ever-charming Brian Patrick Flynn, and I think you're going to enjoy what he has to say. He started out as a TV producer in this industry and then put another hat on, and now is working in interior design as well. So with all that wealth of knowledge, he's going to start asking some questions to these ladies, and we hope that you'll chime in and ask what you want to know too. Enjoy.
I guess that's my cue. I can tell because of those lights shining on my face. Okay, hi everybody. Thank you for coming to this gigantic open space. My name's Brian. I'm an interior designer and also a product designer now. And these 3 amazing women with me are people who have created really successful, smaller, almost like niche businesses, especially in the age of digital and appealing to everybody, including millennials. So I'm going to quickly just, it's easier if you guys tell us who you are.
Oh, it's not easier.
This is, okay, no, it'll be faster. So I'm going to point you to the next person, and they will tell you their name and the name of their company. It's just, that way it breaks the ice, and it's easier for us. Okay, Jen Gotch. Your name is Jen Gotch.
Thank you.
And your company is called?
Bando. And I am the founder and chief creative officer, and we make lifestyle products for millennial women.
And next is Tracy Porter with Poetic Wanderlust, and Tracy makes, what exactly did you make, Tracy?
We design all sorts of eclectic, soulful, delicious, quirky, fun goods that are sold everywhere.
For example, bedding?
For example, bedding,
and maybe something
bags,
else?
ceramics,
Okay.
gifts, you know, all kinds of goods.
And next we have Anna Bond with Rifle Paper Company, correct?
Yes.
And Anna, is stationery the best thing for me to say, or does that do you a disservice?
Beyond that.
Stationery, gift, lifestyle.
Paper goods?
Yes, paper
Okay.
goods.
And we are all in different places. I'm in Atlanta. Jen is in Los Angeles. Tracy is in Southern California. And Anna is in Winter Park, Florida.
Yep.
And that's it. So the first thing I'm going to do is give you more information you need to know because that makes it easier. I cannot stand cliche questions, so I usually go with ones that are a little bit quirky and off subject just because it kind of helps you get to know the person a little bit more. A lot of times when I'm trying to break the ice, I ask people what food they absolutely hate because everybody has an interesting answer. Like some people don't like it when different vegetables touch on a plate, or somebody doesn't like the texture of a banana, but that one is too awkward. So what I'm going to do is I realize most people did not necessarily start out doing what they've done to make them super successful, especially in the age of digital and millennials where everybody's doing something they're passionate about. So I would like to know what A, each of your first jobs were, and or B, the worst freaking job you ever had and like how much you hated it. And I'm going to just randomly choose one of you, and I'm going to ask Jen first.
Okay, my first job was at a nursing home. And I was not a nurse, but basically my job was serving buttermilk to people that were about to die.
Oh, is that good or bad?
It's bad.
I like buttermilk.
No.
Okay.
And my worst job was I used to drive a rickshaw in Annapolis, Maryland.
What's a rickshaw?
It's like a bike-drawn carriage.
Oh, I think that's
did
cool.
chores. No, it's not cool. It wasn't cool.
All
So
right.
I got out of that. I
It's
parlayed it into something else.
Much different.
Yes.
She's not cycling people around anymore.
Well,
And then,
I would if the money was right, but.
I think I'm kind of
Yeah.
the same way.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't harm people, I'm before it. All right, Tracy, what about you? Worst job and or first job?
My first job was I was a pizza maker at a pizza place when I was 16, and that's the only other time I was employed.
That's the only other time that you like work for someone
That's
else?
what I did. I was so inspired making pizza that I went into, catapulted me to the next thing. No, so I don't have a worse job. I mean, making pizza is not bad.
No, that's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not even been
It's
embarrassing.
kind of fun,
really.
yeah.
I was a party captain. I worked at a theme park when I was 19 and 20. I thought it was so cool because it was like prestigious. And I was a party captain, which meant we had it was at a theme park, and the very rich parents who didn't necessarily want to be with their kids for that long, or they did as long as alcohol was present, they dropped them off to us, and we would have possession of their kids for 4 hours and take them on bumper cars and bumper boats and mini golfing and stuff. And I thought it was the coolest thing in the entire world. I actually don't think it's that embarrassing because I made a lot of money, but then again, I also didn't really spend a lot of money either because I was 19. But anyway, I digress. It happens a lot with me. I go off on tangents. Anna, what about you?
My first job was a grocery store checkout because I really wanted to scan products.
It's cool. The scanner's badass.
Yes,
right?
I was so happy, and I still remember the banana code 4011.
Is that the universal banana code?
Yep, it is.
See, it all comes full circle
And I was
to
like
food.
14. Yeah.
Wait, protein has its own number?
I was 14 years old, and then I quit when I found out my aunt left me $2,000 because I thought
So you were rich.
I thought
Yeah,
I
you were
had
set
like
for life.
made it in life, and I was
$2,000.
like, I'm not working.
That's a lot of money. Well, that was okay.
Then I had to work by 15.
So nobody's is really that embarrassing. It really wasn't.
Wait, did you hear about the buttermilk? The rickshaw?
I think it's cool. Yeah, like, I don't know. Maybe I'll come back to it if I find something
exotic.
embarrassing. It's kind of different. Okay, now we're going to go into questions that kind of come back to like things that have takeaways or that could be interesting for anybody in the audience who's a buyer or somebody starting out or somebody who hasn't jumped into digital yet. These are questions that have a little bit of a relevance and somewhat of takeaways that actually will bring you some information that has value. And I feel bad because I keep wanting to start with Jen. It's because of my proximity to her. But also, everybody is equal here, but I keep asking Jen first.
Well,
Okay.
I gave you $20 before.
Okay, yeah, she did, exactly. And you said it was nice. All right, so with Bando, Jennifer, why was I going to
Am I
call you?
in trouble?
I just called her Jennifer. That's so
okay.
random.
A couple people do call me Jennifer.
Well, I won't. She's in Southern California, and I used to live there, and everywhere you look, there's inspiration. And one of the things I associate with Bando as a brand is like happy, fun colors.
Yeah.
So the question I was going to ask you is there any color in the spectrum that you personally cannot stand, and what is it?
I don't like cranberry, like a pinkish red.
Pinkish
Sorry.
red?
Yeah, I find it upsetting. But, you know, it's interesting to me that color, I have a lot of different color relationships, so I like different colors for different reasons, and some make me feel happy and some make me feel sad. It doesn't mean I don't like them, but I've always felt like it was so interesting that just color could do that to you. That I would actually get mad if I saw that particular color that I just
The
described.
pinkish red?
Let's not talk about it. I don't want to get mad on the panel.
That's how I feel about beige, but I just don't like flesh tones. I like them
Oh,
on
I
people,
love
but I don't
flesh
like them
tones.
for decorating.
Oh,
Do
yeah.
you?
Not for decorating.
No, but
Well,
on people.
yes, for
yeah.
decorating. Sorry.
Really?
We'll talk about it later.
Okay, we'll talk about that offline. All right, and then Tracy, name a few of the biggest ways setting up shop an entire. Okay, here's one of the deals. Like a lot of us, our styles are very different for what we do. And Tracy is in Southern California. And Tracy, would it be safe to say that you live a pretty rural life?
Yeah.
Would you say that that has an effect, like your environment, being out? Say the name of the city you live in again. I always get it wrong.
We live in Los Olivos.
Los Olivos, Southern California, near Santa Barbara, right?
Yeah, just outside.
Olives and wine.
So you are a fan of farm animals, correct?
Yeah, I've always lived on a farm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that has that translates directly into your aesthetic and your brand in general?
This is the first time actually I don't live on a farm. Now we live in a little cottage
Uh-huh.
first time. But I think it has always affected my aesthetic. I mean, my whole lifestyle is my aesthetic, and it's very easy. And we did have our farm. The animals would come and go through the house whenever they wanted to. And some people thought, oh, that's so weird. But for me, it was just sort of, you know, I liked it when our horse stuck his head in through the window while we were making pancakes.
Not to cut Tracy off, but I had this weird thing happen on Instagram that drives me crazy. Sometimes there's people that I follow, and then all of a sudden they just don't show up in my feed anymore. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Tracy was one of them because some of her beautiful Instagram shots are literally her life, like in the kitchen. And did you used to have a Dutch door in the kitchen or no?
Yeah, we had Dutch doors.
You would see an animal, like a horse. I was going to say an ostrich, but I'm totally lying, and this would be recorded for the internet. But there would be some type of animal that most people wouldn't have in the house, and they're just like traipsing through her living room. And it was really interesting to see your lifestyle because it also fits your patterns. So anyway, I'm getting excited about it because I love the idea of being far outside of cities. And that's what happens when you turn 40. Okay, and then Anna, when it comes to the products, like one of the questions I was gonna ask was like, if there's a pocket notebook, is there one that's a bestseller? Or if I opened up the question and said, if there's a type of actual drawing, what is it that you think is the most synonymous with your brand? Like as far as the actual artwork is concerned?
Probably flowers, I would
Flowers
say.
is her answer.
Yeah, I think most of our best-selling products are either floral, or our best-selling card is a birthday girl with glasses, and she's very.
That's what I was gonna
She's sort
say.
of like the rifle-looking girl, and.
If anybody can't hear Anna, can everybody hear Anna?
No.
Can you hear
sad.
everybody else? Yeah, because I'm noticing like people like
was
looking
being too
around.
loud.
Let me see if I'm an audio engineer, but let me see if there's anything I can do. Wait, if you go
Switch
like
me?
that, say hello.
Hello.
Say hello again.
Hello. Hi.
I will repeat your answers. Anyway, she was saying that flowers and then also a drawing of a girl wearing glasses, correct?
Yes.
Round glasses.
Yeah.
Is the one with the girl wearing glasses super feminine and flirty too, or are they totally different feelings?
I think it's very feminine. I think it fits the same sort of world and aesthetic. All of our products are mostly hand painted with gouache, and so everything sort of has a similar vein to it, whether it's flowers or travel or people. So.
The majority of everything that she said is consistent. Oh my God,
I
I feel
like
like
that
I feel like a
you're translating
translator.
now.
Yeah. It's like floral or travel based,
Yeah.
and it's light and fun, correct? It's not super serious. Okay, the next one. This comes back to Jen, and these are kind of random, so we can kind of go with them as we want. But this is stuff that I thought was kind of interesting, rather than a what was your inspiration, or I don't know, tell me what food you don't like next to each other on plates. When it comes to type font, can you pretty much immediately name a font when you see it? Or like when you, or do you have a least favorite font? Because I've noticed with a lot of the products that you have that are like t-shirts or even notebooks, the fonts are different and fun and they fit the saying, but they're not ones I can identify.
Neither can I. Well, I wish I had my phone. Christy has my phone. Because I actually texted some of our designers and I was like, what font
What
would
is that
you
font?
say? Yeah, but I think Cooper is having a very big moment right now. Which is
Cooper, like spelled like the man's name, Cooper?
Yeah.
That's a font?
That's a font.
Oh.
I see some people nodding their heads. So it's sort of like the quintessential iron-on letter font, and it's like it's a very old font.
I love
that's
Cooper
like
then.
signed.
I know what you're talking about.
So I think that, and I'm sure if I walked the show, I would see a lot of that happening. So I feel like that's a big one. And then for us, a lot of our stuff is hand done, but based on fonts. So I don't know the names, but some of the girls in my office were saying that there are some takes on the Kanye font that are a little bit.
Kanye?
Yeah,
Like
Kanye
West?
that's the one.
He's a font?
Well, he has this font that's like sort of an old English font that he does for a lot of things that, I don't know. This is what cooler people tell me. I was like, I don't know the answer to that. I better ask somebody smart.
That is kind of a strange code. I can't stand Times New Roman even though everybody uses it.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
always change my emails to Georgia. And I don't know why,
Oh.
because I like the G.
I like Century Gothic for emails.
I like that too. I think it's
Okay.
legit.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Tracy, I wanted to ask you if you, it's a fill in the blank question.
Oh.
Tracy just spent a good amount of time in Nicaragua, up to 6 months actually. If I said fill in the blank and I said everyone should make travel a priority because blank, what would you put into the blank part?
It's not one word. I'm a little verbose. That's okay. I would say because it is mind-opening, mind-blowing, perspective-giving, granting, I should say. It allows you to get outside of the bubble. I mean, we live in a beautiful bubble in the United States, but it does allow you to get outside of it and say, whoa, it's a really big world, and it has so many other facets to it, and it's a wonderful thing to expose yourself to and expose your children to. And it's healthy because then you also come back and go, oh my gosh, we're the luckiest people on the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucky,
It makes you
lucky,
appreciate
lucky.
stuff, right?
And you really do. I mean, I feel like I'm an appreciative person, but you do appreciate.
I couldn't agree more. And this next question has nothing to do with that. And this is for Anna. Okay.
You're good at
Maybe
segues.
First
just
of all,
hold this.
thank you. This is I feel like so materialistic saying this, but Anna has 500,000 followers on Instagram, which is a lot. I think that's a very large amount of people. I don't think I've ever met more than like 160 people in my whole 41 years. But anyhow, I wanted to know if you ever use Instagram as some form of informal market research to see what people respond to and tend to like before you invest in a new design. Like, or do you use it to go the opposite direction? Like, let's say you had something that was edgier and darker, that wasn't out there, would you first run it on your Instagram channels to see if a lot of people liked it before it actually you go into business with it?
Yeah, I've done that in one way. I don't know if they can.
I feel like Anna's getting
inside
shortchanged on the
like
audio.
eat
Here, what about now?
Put mine
What
over
about?
here.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Ooh.
that's good.
I'm gonna change it up, y'all. I'm just gonna sit right here.
That's good.
Here we go.
All right,
This is
here we go.
awkward.
No, it's not.
Well,
See?
I'm trying to think of a question now.
Would you,
Yes,
do
I
you,
think
we put things on Instagram
yeah,
first to see how
we
well
have,
they perform?
we have. I've done that in one way or another, and there's only been a handful of time where I've done it in a very formal way, like, hey, do you guys like this or this? I think it does tell me something, but I don't think it necessarily always translates, because I can think of one product that I think people are very excited about on Instagram, and then we made it, and I was
Yeah.
like,
Oh, and then it wasn't
that did
there.
not work out. You guys
Yeah.
did not follow through with that
Yeah.
excitement.
Yeah.
So I think it just depends, but I think overall our customers are very engaged in what we're doing, so I think that it is very helpful to put things on there and talk about. Yeah, I think it's helpful.
The reason I asked is, so the majority of my business is interior design, and when I started to really embrace social media, at first I'm like, why the hell am I spending all this time on my phone? I should be, I don't know, maybe talking to my friend who's sitting next to me at dinner, or maybe I could call my mom instead of tagging her. I started to realize that I started to pay attention to the things that I would post on my Instagram channels. I use Instagram more than anything else. I tried that thing with the yellow ghost. Oh, okay. To Snapchat, it really didn't work for me. So what I would do,
thought you were having
with the
a-
ghost, every time I would post images of my work that was more dark and moody, don't do that. That audio is bad. Okay, that audio is not working very well. Sorry, we can't hear what you're hearing, so I apologize. The end of my story, my point, I do have one, is that I started to post images on my Instagram channels of the work I was most proud of. And a lot of times it would have been darker and moodier. And I noticed a lot of the magazine editors and people, or marketing people from brands weren't reaching out as much. But then I got to very light and happy pastel places for my portfolio. My following went through the roof.
Yeah.
And the reason I asked Anna that question is I'm beginning to see a correlation between business moves you can make based on how people are reacting to the stuff you're posting in your social channels,
Yeah.
and take that and put it towards what product I'm putting out there. Next question. Jen, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard would you say it is to truly make it in a very niche industry like the small gift industry? And do you think price points are pretty much a big part of the key to success, having things that are affordable where you can buy multiples at once?
Yeah, I think it changed. How hard? Let me answer the first question. Very, 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 very hard to make it. And I honestly think price points can be a part of it, but it depends on your customer and the timing. And when we started Bandeau, we were making one-of-a-kind vintage hair accessories that on average cost $250 each, and then the recession hit. And a lot of what we were doing was impervious to the recession because we were dealing with brides. So in that case, price points didn't really affect what we were doing. But then when we sort of changed our product model and it's a little bit more impulsy and fluid, that once we lowered our price point, a lot of our line is under 50. And so I think that has certainly contributed to our success both in wholesale and retail because it's appealing on both ends. But it could be totally different for another brand. So I think it's you have to know your brand and know your customer, and then you have to pretty much stick with the same story throughout. It's hard to pivot.
The price points thing to me is huge. I go to each different brand based on, okay, I know that I only have $160 for accessories for this end table,
Yeah.
and then I immediately know where I'm going, and it has a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go to Tracy, where it says, in the topic, I keep learning. You guys would know. Anybody who is here who's a buyer would know these terms, but I never heard the term before. Top of bed. Which top of bed term? That's when you're doing duvet covers and bed and pillow
Pillows and all,
pillow covers and stuff. The question I was going to ask you is, in the top of bed category, what would you say is the most time-consuming design and marketing element if you're doing, let's say, a bed cover? Are there certain colors that people don't necessarily want to sleep on? Or are there patterns that make people feel more dreamy? The psychology of this is fascinating to me.
I know, I wish I actually knew.
Just guess. Make it up.
I
Make
wish
it up.
I could give you a
Clouds.
pat answer. But I do so much color and so much pattern that I don't think I would be the person who could actually really answer that. I think if someone did a lot of basics and things like that, they would be, not to diss your question, because it's a great question, it really is, except for that there's so much going on my beds that I design. Everything, there's, it's a collage and layers and layers and layers. And because that's to me a really easy way to live. Because then anyone can do that. You can pretty much throw anything on your bed and it's going to look cool and funky and bohemian and it's going to work. You don't have to feel like, oh, this doesn't match with this. That doesn't answer your question at all.
I
I'm
love
sorry.
that you did it. You're a rebel and it's working for me. All right, how about this, just for the sake of not shortchanging our lovely audience with giving them information. What adjectives, oh God, I would hate this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What adjectives do you think, or do you use the most to associate with your aesthetic?
Yeah, me?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you again,
Okay,
just because there's so many layers to your style.
You have to answer a question.
And the reason I'm asking is anybody else out there who has to deal with marketing for their own brand, it's really freaking hard to describe your style when you work in the creative profession.
Yeah.
Like a lot of my work is masculine and colorful. 90% of it is like gender neutral and neutral. So I can't really put myself in a box. But what are ones you embrace for your style?
So I embrace, I think the biggest word and the most descriptive word for my brand would be soulful. And
Soulful is our answer, and that's a good one.
because it's like you want to move right in, and to me that's a really lovely thing to be able to feel for a brand. And I love that feeling when I walk into a store or something. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I just want to climb into this bed and hang out here. I want people to feel that way about my brand. I want them to feel so comfortable and excited, but I also want them to feel excited and inspired. I want them to go, ooh, there's something about this. I can't even find the word, but I love this stuff. And that's the kind of way that people communicate with me, is just, I don't even know what it is, but this is cool. That's fun to me because I get that way. Like I get giddy about stuff and I'm like, I don't know what the word is, but man, I'm so into it. And so I get excited.
I love it. But it's super hard for any creative professional to describe, because our job is to create something that's totally authentic in you. And when you start with an adjective, you feel like you're being put in a box.
Yeah.
And Anna, question for you. What was the very first thing you ever created or painted or drew professionally that actually made money?
That actually made money. I did a lot of show posters for bands, and those did not. They paid between like $0 and $15.
1.5 or 5?
Maybe possibly like paying.
Money
15, like $1.5?
1.5, yes.
Jeez.
she retired on 2000,
Yeah.
so that's 15
But they were my sort of experimenting stage where I was trying to figure out my style. Like every poster I did I was trying to like do something else, and it was sort of my time to figure out who I was as an artist. So I really appreciate that time in life and scraping by.
one of those posters.
Yeah.
They're on the internet somewhere.
Really?
Yeah, they
The
are.
first ones are out on the internet
There's a lot of
somewhere?
old ones. You can
I
dig them
keep
up.
scrubbing the internet for my original work. I had some interior design work that I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? Or take my name off that.
always.
And I caught that like in 2008 before like everybody could retweet stuff. Good time. You were probably like in middle school then. Okay, next question. This is going to be for Jen. This is something that I find really interesting because everybody has a different point of view. So I started like stalking Jen's Instagram over the past 2 weeks because it makes me feel good. It's happy, it's gorgeous, it's ethereal, and it's actually very thought-provoking and very personal. What do you consider the maximum number of posts a person should do in a day? And the maximum maybe number. Okay, this is what I like on Instagram stories. If I see somebody have like 37 little tiny dots,
Yeah.
I'm like, skip.
You had that yesterday.
Yesterday I had like 47 dots. I couldn't sleep. I was stressed, and then my phone died, so I couldn't delete them.
Yeah.
But what would you consider to be the maximum number of posts to be cool, or the maximum number of little dots to stay under per day?
Yeah. Well, listen, it's very different for me because I have my personal account, which is run without rules, and then Shop Bando, which I am only a contributor to. There are lots of girls in the office that run that. I would say for me personally, I just do whatever I want. I've certainly had people message me and say, did you really have to post 35 times today, or could you have just said that in 6? So I was like, no, I did need the 35 times. But I think for a business, you want to, especially now with the algorithms and the way that Instagram is running, like you want to stay consistent, but you know, people get Instagram fatigue just like they do any other type of, you know, media fatigue. So it's like you want it to be concise and meaningful but exciting. So I think like post-wise, I know that the girls aim to have 5 a day just to kind of stay on the top of people's feeds. And then,
that's for the shop bando. So that's more
Yeah.
like that would be more like
that's
a business
like
one.
that's the structure. I mean, mine. I don't know that anyone would want to follow my personal model
love
on
it.
social media.
That makes me
I wouldn't
happy.
recommend it. You could go to jail or something.
Okay, so for your business, maybe 5 max.
Yeah, well, I would say
A
3
day.
to 5. I wouldn't do less, and I think you could do more, but it would have to be great content for you to do that.
How many dots on an Instagram story till you're like skipping it?
You know, it's stories even for us, I think is still, we're trying to find our groove, but I wouldn't go over 10.
10?
Like, I would think you want to be able to see the dots.
What, so on Instagram, there's filter. Oh no, I know what you mean, because they can either be dots or they can be bars.
Yeah, like
I like
you
when
don't
they're
want, I
bars.
feel like when they're really big bars, you're like,
Come on, give
that's
them
what I'm
effort.
saying. Like,
Yeah,
I think 8 to 10? 8 to
yeah.
10?
When you're on Instagram, which one of those do you consistently? I always go to Gingham, which is one of the filters. Do you have one you use all the
I
time?
filter outside of Instagram.
Oh, like from a special filter system?
Yeah.
I didn't even know they had that stuff. Very strange question that I'm just fascinated to know.
I can show you later.
I want to see. I need to learn this stuff. I
Okay.
should know it by now. How many of you actually check your voicemail?
Voicemail.
Yeah. Do you? Okay. Anna,
I have
do you
voicemail?
check your
So
voicemail?
terrible. No.
Do you leave voicemail?
No, because I
Tracy.
don't check. I'm like, I will call and then text.
Same here. Tracy?
Yeah, I'm more of a texter. I check my voicemail maybe like a couple times a week, maybe. And I'm just like, oh, my dad left a message. Shoot, But yeah, I'm bad.
You?
My voicemail is literally all from my dad, and then the last text is always your voicemail is full. And then I screenshot my voicemail, and it's just dad. And I'm like, it's because you're spamming
filling
my,
it out?
yeah, you're doing this to me, Dad.
I don't even have the thing where it says you've reached my mailbox. It probably just says message 3479 or something.
Yeah.
Because I hate that. Another question I wanted to ask you is that this is the last one, and then we're going to open up to Q&As. This is something that I like to know because I prefer to do everything business-wise via text. Emails obviously are much more professional, but I feel like a lot, since I work in production design as well as interior design, that means I design for the camera. I'll do television sets or movie sets or design for catalogs or for magazines. And a lot of times I'll be in a place like this where it's very concrete, or also where there's sound rolling. So I can't necessarily make a phone call. So I prefer text because I know if I have iMessage, it'll come up right away. So I'm going to start with Tracy. Preferred method of digital communication: email, text, or direct, or this is another one, it's a curveball, guys, I'm tricky here, or direct messages on social media.
Yeah, I like direct messages on Instagram, and I like text. But I really like simple. I mean, email is, it's good too. If it's if you have a lot to say, then don't text me.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Will you also find yourself conducting actual quick business text in a direct message? And then
yeah.
say, here's my email.
For sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, and email me.
To make it larger. Anna, when it comes to email, text, or direct messages? Or is there one that you don't do at all?
I don't really do direct messages. I'll text with certain people, but I feel like I like email just to keep it organized.
Yeah.
If I'm out of town, I like text from the office just because I don't want to have to be in my email constantly.
Yeah.
And we use Slack internally in our office,
so
which
do
is great because it
Wait,
avoids a lot
what
of
did you
email.
say you use?
Slack.
What is? I don't know what that is. Slack?
Yeah, it's like a messenger system.
Yeah, we use it too.
Yeah, it's great.
What does it do?
It avoids a lot of emails in the office,
Yeah,
which is
it's supposed to
helpful.
reduce inter-office emails, so it's like instant message for a group, and then you can assign different channels.
And they've
but
got,
also,
like,
the
apps
girls
and
in
you
our
can
office
video
just
chat
use
in
it
it.
to share,
Yeah.
Memes?
yeah.
Does anybody else know about Slack?
I'm like,
See, the reason I'm asking the questions again is the audio up here is kind of weird for us because we can't tell. But one of the questions I asked is, well, there's a lot of audio up there. But anyhow, I'm really bad. I'm really quick to answer emails, but I usually only skim them. I never read everything, and I usually give like a truncated answer. Like if they need 20 answers, I give them like one answer. But what I've noticed is a lot of people now tend to be much more concise with text, if it's a yes or no.
Yeah.
And they mentioned, what is the name of it? This is
Slack.
Squirrel, yeah. Slack, they said, is an app, or just an app on your phone, or is it a program for your email?
It's on your computer. It's on your phone, my phone too.
Yeah.
But it's only inter-office.
yeah.
There's no
It's
outside.
like iChat, but
For people you work
you
with?
yeah.
Okay.
You see what I'm doing here? You're like
I
coming
like
together.
that, yeah, it's good. Okay, and then the last question is, when it comes to social media, and I'm bringing that up because it's such a huge part of every single one of our worlds now. I mean, everybody has somebody who does it or a department that does it, and a lot of people dump a ton of money into it like they used to with marketing. So when it comes to your preferred method of social media, Anna, which one is yours? Between Instagram, Facebook, or Snapchat?
I still do not understand Snapchat fully, but Instagram for sure. I think it just lends itself to a visual brand, which I think we all have. And I mean, Twitter is probably our weakest just because it's not as visual. But yeah, I love being able to share it and curate it. It's part of the brand experience. You can do a lot more and be more playful and take more risks with Instagram. So I love. And like Jen, I have both account, like a personal one and a brand one, which helps kind of separate to two sides of what I do. So that's.
I rolled all mine into one. I considered doing one that was strictly like interior design, and then I did another one that was my name, and then I think it was just laziness. I didn't want to have to do both. But it does make a lot of sense if there's certain things that you do. If you have a sense of humor that may not translate to people in all different markets, and my sense of humor is sometimes not for everybody. But actually, I'm going to turn it over here for a second. A raise of hands for people who immediately just prefer Snapchat over anything else. This is so interesting. Everybody, really?
You do? Yeah.
You're a big Snapchat person?
Well, I'm not anymore because I was like forced to bring it to Instagram because there's a bigger audience, but I love Snapchat.
What about Twitter out there? This is so interesting. Really?
Yeah.
I used it for maybe like 4 months in 2010 when I used to have a blog. It was a different time then, and I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I tried it, but everything I did was visual, so Twitter didn't make sense for me.
I think Twitter it's also like my friends that I know that use Twitter as their main, like they're writers, they're content people, and it's like all day, like you have to be on it. That's like a full-time job.
All day?
Where I feel like with other social media like Instagram, you can even sort of plan that out, where Twitter is like very reactive to what's trending and very current, so it's just, I don't think any of us are in a business where that would make sense.
The reason I never use Twitter is I feel like it's for people to yell at each other and hate each other. It's like Twitter wars where like somebody tags somebody and they say something mean about them and then they tag them. It's like, what is the point of that? Like you're just fighting not, it's not even real fighting. Tracy, Instagram for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think Instagram is, I would agree with everything that you said, and no Twitter. I mean, I do Twitter, but I don't even understand it. And Facebook, I think, is so convoluted.
Convoluted?
I do it, but I really think it's too convoluted.
Last thoughts from me on that is, so what I've started to do is, I feel like when you get a big enough Instagram following and you get used to a rhythm and you know what people like and it's so easy because everything's so beautifully organized, I started to realize that when it comes to Instagram, the majority of the people on there are not people I really know in real life. But it's my preferred method because it's a bigger audience. But when it comes to Facebook, like my aunt's there, like my cousin that I met once when I was like 9 is on there, and like some lady that once I met at the store, and it's like, but I've met these people, and it's so much more personal. I find myself not using that anymore because Instagram is a little bit more of this is what I'm doing, and I like to share it with you. But I have found myself using both, but Instagram is more like basically my mom and dad are not on Instagram. So, and that's where I spend most of my time. My mom and my dad are on Facebook, and I'm not on there a lot. I think that says a lot. This is one last random question that I'm going to ask. Are there any trends right now that the three of you are just totally over, or something that is just that you think's been done to death, or something that you love and think is forever and just happens to be really hot right now? I'll go first. Pastels. I love that pastels are hot. Sorry, trying to break the ice. Or do you prefer not to talk about trends because it could be bad for business?
It's bad for business. I actually think there's an interesting trend happening that has to do more with originality and finding your own voice and less about following trends. I mean, obviously, especially with the gift market, like you will see trends come through and be really embraced for long periods of time, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I do think that with millennials and even like Gen Z, and people are just looking, like the trend is actually doing your own thing.
Is there a Gen Z?
Yeah.
What is,
They're
if
younger.
I'm 76, I'm Generation X, so is Gen Z?
I'm Gen X too. Gen Z is like
Between
younger.
us?
No.
Younger?
Younger than millennials.
Oh, does anybody know about
I'm
Gen
making
Z?
This up. Guys, I'm making this up right now. Or they're zombies, so maybe I'm mixing it up with a zombie
There
movie.
is a Gen Z.
No,
I think
oh,
it's
that was like a
I think
Brad
it's like
Pitt movie.
Like younger.
Yeah,
younger.
much younger.
So maybe like 80 to 83 or something? Well, anyway, this is off
no.
topic.
I don't know exactly.
No, they're like teenagers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But
okay.
they have a lot of influence. If you
Really?
know. Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed like some
They know how to
17-year-olds
use their phones and shop online better than anybody. So yeah,
Nuts.
they're important.
Tracy, what about you? Like, are there any like overdone patterns out there or palettes that you just think are that are kind of done to death or just dated?
Well, you know, I don't want to pick on, you know, like, because I do kind of go, that gets boring to me. You know, there are things that I feel like get boring, but it's only because I like so much, like, you know, so much going on.
Tracy likes layers, by the way, too. So it's like Tracy would like pattern on pattern, totally balanced.
I love
but they
layers.
layer beautifully. They're all different scales, so you can put them together.
Yeah, it's not for everybody though, and I
I
understand
love
that
it.
fully. You know, I know for some people they're kind of like, whoa, you are crazy, and I'm kind of like, oh, it's so fun. You know, it's different. You know, what I think is the neatest thing, and it kind of dovetails to what you're saying, is there's so much experimentation going on, and that really excites me because it's sort of that we're all allowed to fully and freely explore the things that excite us, and especially when you're on Instagram, there is so much cool, interesting stuff going on. You don't have to fit into a little thing. You can, I feel like I'm exploring right now so many things with my art that I feel like, yes, this is so fun because I can go off in other directions right now, and I know there are markets for it. There's so many things happening that it's great. It's like when you look at, fashion, it's like, whoa, it's all over the board. That's really cool to me.
It
I'd
sounds
rather
like
see
it
that
sounds like
than
both of you agree that like authenticity and originality and one of a kind doing
Everything.
it yourself is kind of like what would you agree to, Anna?
Yeah, I think what excites me is seeing something different, and that's not trying to be something else or somebody else's brand. And that's really refreshing, whether it's one style or another, or if it's modern and minimal, or if it's wild. I think you can spot something new and different and fun. And I think people are always craving that. So I don't love trend
They're
things.
savvier
I
to
think
it too, just because of everything, the way you're fed visuals now, because we are on our phones and on Pinterest, and it's easier for people to identify like, oh, that's not, you're like pulling someone else's stuff. I feel like people are like really savvy to like originators of ideas and giving that value, and which is exciting for all of us because like we hold that very high.
Oh yeah.
And same for you. So I think I think it's an interesting time to be in business because that hasn't always been that way. Sometimes it's just following suit and following the trends. Like I haven't like looked at trend reports or that sort of thing. I'd rather not. But
I think it's an interesting answer. It seems like all of us agree that like it's not necessarily a trend, but like maybe authenticity is the thing now, especially now that your personality is just as important as what it is you're selling or making. That if it comes through in the way you dress, the way you talk, your sense of humor, the way you wear your hair, I think it's the whole package. It's just relatable. I like knowing who the person is that I'm giving my money to, and maybe that's kind of where the psychology all comes down. And that, my friends, is the end of this, unless I get yelled at for not talking enough. Anybody who's in, okay. I think that means, I'm going to go to Q&A next. Yeah, I think I'm supposed to be queued for that though. All right, so just so everybody knows, this is the portion where we're going to go to the Q&A, and we're going to open up to the whole entire audience. And if anybody's too embarrassed, I'm going to start asking questions to you guys. Oh, you literally have the question?
No, I literally do.
Let's do it. Speak into the microphone.
Okay. Okay, so I wanted
All right,
to...
so here's what I'm going to do. This is a little more difficult because it's all being recorded for Facebook Live and it's streaming. So this is going to be strange. Put your hand on the microphone. Yeah, and now go a little bit closer to it, because that way, because the people that are on their computers, like, they won't have
It's a little awkward, though.
I know, it's totally weird, and I feel like I'm being bossy, but trust me, this is how people
No, I'm bossy, too. It's okay, but it's
we're
just awkward.
match made in heaven.
because
Okay,
you're on
ask your
microphone.
question.
Okay, so I wanted to know how all three of you achieved what you achieved. And actually, this is mostly directed to Anna because I'm a licensor. And so I wanted to know, do you license your designs as well? Did you always import your products or develop your own products and distribute your products? Or did you start off by licensing and somebody else distributed your products? I mean, how did you get started? Because I'm sure, I mean, did you take your aunt's $2,000 and start your business? I mean, how did you start your business?
We started with the money we earned from custom wedding invitations, which I had been doing for almost a year. So we took that money and used it to build a website and our first run of products. And I think I was like sort of blissfully naive at the time, where I was just like, yeah, I can start a brand, why not? Make a website and put it on some cards. And we had no idea what we were doing, but that's how we got to the website point. And then we've always had some sort of mix of licensing. Like, I worked with a book publisher to make just like one box of cards when we first started. So it's very small and gradual, but we're always working towards wholesale as well. We launched in 2009 in November, and then we were wholesaling by the following May. And it kind of took us that long to get our act together, figure out how to print a card, because it was actually kind of hard, and get our pricing right. And then we showed up at our show, and people were like, give us your line sheet, and we had no idea what that meant. So we were like, it was a big learning process, but I've always sort of, wholesale's the core, but licensing is now becoming a bigger part of what we're doing, for sure.
Where'd she go? Just did the squirrel thing again. I was like, okay, does anybody else have a question? Oh, look, you happen to be standing right in front of a microphone.
Yes. Okay. I don't know if this mic is on. I'm assuming I hear something. So the question for all three of you has to do with production in your manufacturer. Do you have any stories or a story that you'd like to share with us of an experience that you had working from either a manufacturer or someone who is producing your product?
A story about
like how hard it is?
It's really hard, I would say.
How do you even get into it? Like, what do you what do you look at? What do you like Google?
I actually, because when we sold the company, we sold it to someone who knew manufacturing, distribution, all of that. But prior to that, when we were just creatives, and I was like, how do we get headbands?
How do we have them?
I mean, I literally just like Googled
how to have a headband?
How to get black set. No. It still works, by the way. There are sites that will connect you. And I literally got connected to a factory who happened to be the factory that was making stuff for J. Crew and The Limited, and they were our factory for a really long time. But I was like, can I just get like 25 headbands? And if you know about overseas production, like minimums are usually in the thousands. But he accommodated us, and he was our factory. I mean, we still do a little bit of work with him, but obviously our products have changed. We don't make headbands anymore, but that's my story about
Tracy?
Production.
What about when it comes to production and manufacturing? Like, what is your biggest category that gets manufactured, and how do you even know how to make that stuff?
Well, we have done all facets. I mean, we began manufacturing things ourselves, meaning that we literally made them ourselves, my husband and I, with a staff of artists, in a chicken coop in Wisconsin. So we went through that, and then we were kind of like, let's evolve. And then, we evolved and started licensing, so that was a whole different thing. And then we also imported. And, importing is really challenging because, well, first of all, it's hard to get things made in the United States, and I know that seems really ridiculous, what I'm saying, but unless you're actually really making them yourself with your staff and everything, it's really expensive. And almost, everyone has their own story, but to us it felt cost prohibitive after a while. Even for us to manufacture our own stuff, it got so expensive because we were also competing against lots of imports and things. But then once we started importing, and we started importing apparel, like everything, shoes, belts, jewelry, everything, top to bottom, fashion. And I hadn't at that point imported, and honest to God, I took the simplest route, which was I'm just going to go on the internet, and I started doing a lot of research. And but I would say, as Jen said, and I'm sure Anna would say the same thing, it's time consuming, it is really expensive, it's an investment, and you are sitting on a lot of inventory. And so, I tell this to people all the time, be ready to make an investment top to bottom. And just know that you're going to be sitting on a lot of stuff, and some of it may not sell. But I basically went on Alibaba as an example. There are a lot of sites like these, and I just started connecting with people, and then I found this woman who became a full-time agent of ours, and then, you know, she would seek out factories and stuff, but it was just me communicating 24/7. Just all I did was find factories, talk to them, figure this out. How am I going to do this? There are so many layers, so I would just, you know, caution you. I'm a very go do it person, but I would caution you that the expense is massive, and that's something that I don't think a lot of people do realize, because some people go, well, I just have this one idea, this one thing I want to do, and I'm like, that's a lot of money to invest in just one single thing, you know. So it's a 10-hour conversation.
Yeah, it's so
it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a hard thing to break down into a little tiny bite.
Quick answer. What about manufacturing for you? It's all over the board too, right?
Yeah, we still do a lot in Florida. A lot of our paper products. We also do overseas. And I would say, like, just how you're like, how would I get something made? That is like the thought process in the beginning. Like, that's how you feel, like, how in the world? And I think, yeah, it's a lot of research and digging, and there are people who can help, like agents and sourcing people.
But
even that takes really hard.
In the paper category, is it all just also super expensive to have it manufactured and sell in the inventory, or is it a little bit more easy to swallow?
I mean, the price points are lower, but at the same time, like Nathan always says, my husband, he's like, you have to almost train every single factory to work the way you work. It's not just like, oh, you make file folders, here's my file.
Yeah.
You have to like get them on board with your standards, and it's always a huge learning curve with anybody new to get what you need out of them, and it takes a lot of work to do that. And so I think that's where the cost and the time comes in.
I'm also really interested at how paper goods have had this huge resurgence. It's so popular, especially with the younger generation, having like products that are just super original and handmade that are paper. Do you have a question?
I was wondering, is this on? Is it on?
Yeah.
As a small business, what do y'all think the 3 most important hires are?
Well, I feel like when we were starting to, I mean, for us, our first hire was someone who could sew, because my partner and I didn't know how to sew and we needed to make things. But I think overall what you do is look at where you're spending your time and how whether you're paying yourself an hourly rate or not, you figure out what you've identified your hourly, let's say you're $100 an hour, even if you're not making that. Look at everything that you're doing, and are some of those things like more administrative things that someone else could do that you don't have to do? Because when you're a small business owner, you're actually doing everything. And so really looking at what you could offload onto someone else that doesn't have your brain and your connection to the brand or the business, and start there. And then worry about like the bigger creative onboarding later when you have that more articulated and worked out. But I think the easiest thing and the most common problem is that you don't want to train someone, so you end up doing all of this stuff that actually takes up all your time, and you're not moving your business forward because you're answering emails or taking things to the post office or packing orders or talking to customers. And that's like to me, that would be the first place to start.
You guys probably on the same page? Because in my world, it's like anything that has to do with finances or has to do with schedules, I'm out. Like, nope. You gotta choose 3 colors, talk a husband off the ledge. Like, when it comes to like money, it's like, no thanks. I can't tell if that's a hand signal to say wrap it up or not. Tapping, the guy tapping his pen against, does that mean, okay, I can't tell, okay, I think he was literally not telling me to wrap up. Yes?
Questions, actually. Can you hear?
I can't hear you. I know it's weird, but try putting your hand on it.
Okay. Hey, can you hear me?
There we go. Yeah. It works.
2 questions. One.
Wait. Can't hear you. Center your mouth. There.
2 questions. Okay, got it.
Boom.
Tracy, where are you showing here? And second question would be, where do you see a future for small business boutique brick and mortar stores?
I couldn't hear that last part.
Future for small business brick and mortar stores.
Oh, yes. So where we're showing here is certified, and do we have anything else here right now? I'm looking at you guys. J Company. We're at J Companies. I don't know either of their showrooms. I am so sorry. I should know these things. Oh, there you are. I should know these things. My apologies. And I think boutiques, how do I feel about the future boutiques, you know, compared to like what's happening in big retail right now? I think boutiques are always going to make it because they're always, you know, they're always run by a very small group of people who are so heavily invested in everything about them, from creating the displays to walking the markets to, you know, changing things to the connection to the end consumer. I mean, to me, it's just they're sort of worlds apart. Yeah. Some people might disagree, but I really think they're worlds apart, and I think they will always find a way and they will always exist because they're always going to be different. They're always going to be, you're always going to walk into boutiques and feel like, oh, you know, this is, you know, this is unusual.
Well,
and
you can pivot too.
yeah,
like
instantly. Yeah. Today you can say, boom, I'm going to go and get this, or I'm going to change this, or I'm going to rip down this entire display, and I saw this thing on Instagram, and I'm going to redo it now. I mean, that's what's so cool, you know. And it's really hard for big retailers to do that. You know, do any sort of, you know, shifting, pivoting. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Go. You are very good at using the microphone. Give it up for this lady, everybody.
I'm wondering, what was your big break and how did you turn that into a business? And from there, how do you turn that into a social media following that also is profitable?
I don't think I had I didn't have a big break. I think I had like 100 small breaks, one after the other. I mean, it's probably similar. You know, I was talking to someone this morning, and I think it's like sort of the illusion of this one thing happening that really changed. You know, you've made it, and I feel like I've had that like literally 50 times, and it's never really been the time that I've made it. It's just like, okay, you can feel a little bit of momentum. So I do think the key with growing a business is not that stuff in the movies. That's not real. It's like, what are your little wins and how do you recognize them and how do you capitalize on them? But I think it's rare that you have one big thing. I mean, certainly for us, like getting into Anthro really early on helped, but it didn't change our business. It just helped keep us alive. Or, you know, being in InStyle, on the cover of InStyle weddings was a big deal when we were first starting because it kept us in business, but it didn't change any. It wasn't like, oh, all of a sudden everyone knows our name. Like even my dad is still like, why when I'm at the pool and I tell them my friend the name of your company, they don't know who you are? And I was like, because we're not there yet, Dad. So I think it's like more of like small victories and like hard work, sort of pushing those up. That at least for me, I don't know. I just assume everyone's having the same experience that I am.
Did you have a big break, Anna?
I agree. I mean, even though I feel like from the outside it looks like our success happened quickly, but I would say the same thing.
I feel every hour of it.
Yeah, like there's a lot of, I think, being able to spot your opportunities and seize them is really, really vital. Like I can look back to a few moments where we could have said no to something, but we said yes, even though it was extremely difficult and we had no idea how to do it. That got us to like a next point.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are afraid in those moments and to like sort of say, yes, I'm just going to figure it out and try to move myself to the next level. But yeah, it's like hindsight, you start seeing little things, but I agree. I think that sort of one magical moment is not,
it's kind of a fantasy.
probably
Tracy,
not real.
are you the same way, or did you have like the aha moment that's like everything
Maybe
changed?
if you're like on the
Oh,
Oprah
what about,
list.
like, or did you have like a first show or like a first market where you just went, where just things sold like crazy and you were like, this is working?
I think we had like one early on, but I think what it did was make us go, oh, it's not just me and my husband making everything. We have to hire somebody. Right. That was our big like next thing, and it was, you know, Neiman Marcus called and placed this really big order, and my husband was looking at me and scribbling down numbers, and I was kind of like, and then he had the phone and he's like, so we're gonna do this? I'm like, yeah. He's like, how are we gonna do this? I'm like, I don't know, we're just gonna do it and we're just gonna get it to them and we're just gonna start hiring people and we have to do this because how could we say no? Mm-hmm. How can we say no?
Yeah, you have to say yes, because the minute you say yes is when things show up.
We were like, okay, we're gonna do this now. But then I also learned how to say no along the way, because for a long time I was a yes girl.
Yeah, yes at the beginning and then no.
Oh,
and then I learned, then I grew up, and I was kind of like, oh, now I have to say lots of no's, because all of a sudden when you say yes all the time, and I know that's a huge trend right now, but still I'm like, oh man, you gotta say no sometimes.
I'm on yes probation with my company. Like, let me research that before yes. Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Okay, Anna, huge fan. Love to see you. Love everything you do. You're amazing. But I guess my question kind of relates to the previous one, just a little bit more of a backstory. I just started a small business in January, and I'm working on kind of developing my wholesale. And I was wondering what methods really worked for you to communicate to new customers that you saw success from?
Methods to communicate to customers.
Come up with like a little informational packet that you emailed, or did you rely heavily on the networking that you already had in your back pocket?
For wholesale specifically?
What method? The
Sure.
question is, what methods of communication were really successful in being able to clearly communicate with your customer, like exactly like making a sale or how to, the customer service needs, etc.
I mean, we just showed up to the National Stationery Show for the first time, and that's when we started wholesaling. And we probably learned just the questions people asked in the booth, and I feel like we were just like sponges at that show trying to figure out what they were talking about. I think I made like a catalog, but it was like not what they thought should be a catalog, obviously, because it was like one folded card with like one image on it, and they were like, no, we need like all the SKUs, and I'm like, okay, we need to make SKUs. How do you make a SKU?
What's a SKU?
So I think there weren't a lot of resources. I feel like now there's a lot more resources to help with that, and sort of walking the show a year before also just helped me wrap my head around what is a trade show and what is industry. And I think it's just a learning process, and there were a lot of our first accounts that really helped us, stores that still buy from us and are not we're really close to, where you can call and be like, okay, like, what do you expect from me and what can we do for you? And I think, especially in this industry, gift and home and stationery, like, buyers are so supportive, and it's a really great community, and I think you can ask those questions. And now we have other friends in the industry where we can lean on and ask. So I think it's just about soaking everything in, learning the terms, like trying to wrap your head around it, but also not being afraid to ask questions and seek out help, because people are willing to help.
Go for it.
Hey guys. I'm curious, if you guys could go back in time and give yourself advice starting out in your career, what advice would you give yourself?
Open a savings account.
I think Jen said to have a savings account. Is that what you said?
I said open a savings account.
Open a savings, that's even better. So.
Yeah, I still haven't taken that advice. It's all in checking, if my accountant is listening. Sorry.
I think I actually have to tell everybody no more talking. I think. Wait, does that mean wrap it up or shut up? Wrap it up or shut up? Nod yes for wrap up or shake head for shut up. Okay, that means wrap it up. You have 15 seconds. Go for it.
No, I'm done. I can't handle that pressure.
Okay. Everybody, thank you so much for staying here for an hour.
Thank you.
I don't know if we had audio issues or not, but I'm hoping you can hear us.
I can hear you.
Okay. And that's it. Yeah. Thank you very much. I don't know what else to say. This is awkward, but thank you.
This is awkward.
Thank you so much to our wonderful panel. Let's give them another round of applause. You guys were awesome, and thanks for answering so many great questions. And thank you guys for asking so many wonderful questions. Those were fabulous, fabulous Q&A. So thank you so much. I hope you all will come back at 3:30 to see Eric Qualman. I hear he's fantastic. I'm excited to hear him myself. And if you need any information or you have any questions, don't hesitate to stop by and see Sydney at the information desk over here. Wave, Sydney. Hi, everybody. So check in with Sydney if you have any questions about anything. And we'll see you at 3:30.